Hey guys, this is part 3 of my Heroes Con haul. This is going to consist of some signed books, a couple of books I didn't get into my other two videos, and just some general tales from the con, so to speak. The very first booth that I stopped at was a booth of a company named Tomorrows.com. They put out several magazines. This is one of them that I picked up. This is Comic Book Creator number 17. This has got a great interview with Hilary Barta, Ralph Reese. It's also got an article on Wally Wood, the famed EC artist from the 1950s. He did some DC work. He was one of the first artists to work on Daredevil for Marvel in the 60s. He created Thunder Agents for Tower Comics in the mid-late 60s. And it's got a really good article on him and his career. There are several books that have been put out about him. But if you want kind of a short and to the point biography of Wally Wood, you need to pick this issue up. Also picked up the Krypton Companion, also from Tomorrows. This is a compendium of Silver Age Superman. A lot of great articles, story analysis, stuff about the different creators who worked on Superman in the 1960s, late 50s, 1960s, into the early 70s. It basically covers everything from the Mort Weisinger era, when he was the editor, up to and a little bit into when Julie Schwartz took it over in like I think it was 1971, 70 or 71. The beginning of Schwartz's tenure on this book is indicated by that famous cover. I think it's Superman number 233, the Kryptonite No More cover, where he's breaking the kryptonite chains with the kind of a sunburst looking background. Anyway, it's a really cool book, and picked it up. Also got American Comic Book Chronicles, the 1950s. They're putting out a series of these books. They haven't gotten them all out yet, but the series basically covers everything from the 1930s to almost to the present. I think they've got a book out. They're going to put out a book from the 1990s. Basically, what this does is this covers year to year. Talks about what was on the market, who was putting what out. Just all kind of different things. Anything and everything you'd want to know about comics in the 1950s is in that book. So anyway, picked it up. Very happy to get it. Just in case I didn't mention, well, I'm not going to worry about that. Anyway, make the video too long. I had this book, and Joe Giella was there. As you can see, he signed it for me. Giella worked on the first JLA, JSA crossovers in the early 60s. Started with Justice League number 21, and he worked on that, and I got him to sign that for me. Also, some of his, not earliest work, but some of his early work, he worked on some stuff from Mystery in Space, some of the science fiction stuff in the early 50s. So I got him to sign that book for me. This is a really cool book if you can pick it up. It's got some really cool early pre-code science fiction stories in it from DC. A fellow by the name of Jose Luis Garcia Lopez was there. Everybody knows his work. They used him for the merchandising end of DC in the 1970s. His was the Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman that you saw on all the pajamas and the underoos and puzzles and you name it. Anyway, he also helped work on this book, Road Perdition 2. And he drew all of the illustrations in it, so I got him to sign that for me. Giella and Garcia Lopez are two of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. Giella is getting up there. I think he said he would turn 90 this year, and I was very glad. I've got several other things signed by him, but I was glad to see him back at Heroes Con this year. I took my copy of Superman for All Seasons, and I got Tim Sale to sign it for me. Sale's a nice guy. He was actually not signing when I walked up to his table. His handler looked at me and said he's only signing the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. And Sale looked at me. He said, "How many books you got?" And I said, "1." And he said, no worries. And he grabbed it from me and signed it. So, real nice guy. Had It's Joker time. I took all 3 issues. Bob Hall worked on this, and I got him to sign all of them inside the front cover. Hall's a nice guy. He did a lot of stuff that I didn't realize he did. He signed this one. Kind of hard to get the glare out of there, but Batman DOA, he worked on that. He signed that on the front for me. Anyway, he signed that one before I could tell him to sign on the inside. But Hall's a nice guy and very accommodating. And anyway, got Mark Evanier was also there. He has 3 books of his POV columns that he put on his website, and they put them in book form. Anyway, I got Evanier to sign them for me. He was actually getting up to leave for a panel, and they were kind of ushering him off when I stepped up. They were about to usher him off, and he saw what I had, and he sat down and signed them for me, and I thanked him profusely. Nice guy. He even talked with me for a few minutes, even though his handlers were trying to hurry him up. He was asking me about Heroes Con, and was it always, the way it is? Because, Heroes Con, if you've ever been, it's kind of laid back. And I was telling him, this is a great con, and which it is. If you've never been, you need to go. Heroes Con's every year on Father's Day, and just a really good time. Brought this book because Keith Giffen was going to be there, and Giffen's famous for his stuff that he did with the Legion in the early 80s. Same reason I took this one, The Curse. He signed that one inside the front cover for me. Let's see here. Also took this one, this book I picked up. This is all of the Deathlock stories from the early 70s. I got Bob Hall, Mike Zeck, and you can't really see it too well, but J.M. DeMatteis signed it for me. I was real happy to get that, and pretty sure Pablo Marcos, well, he might have signed on there anyway. Zeck's a nice guy, real nice guy. He kind of he didn't usher you through, but he had a pretty long line, so it was nice to meet him. He did take a little time with everybody. Took my copy of Justice Society Volume 2, which reprints the All-Star comics from the late 70s, mid-late 70s, and I got Giffen and Al Milgrom to sign it. Joe Staten had signed it previously, so anyway, did the same thing with this one. I was going to try to get Klaus Janson to sign it. He was there, but I couldn't catch him. He was just, anyway, here, there, and everywhere. Also took this and got it signed by several people. This is the Supervillain, Team Supervillain's book from the 70s. This is the one Pablo Marcos signed. Got Marcos to sign it, Giffen to sign it, Bob Hall, and Al Milgrom. Tell you something funny. I laid this book down in front of Keith Giffen, and Giffen looked at me. He said, "Where'd you get this from?" I told him, I said, I don't remember. I said, I picked it up at a comic shop somewhere. He said, I didn't even know this thing existed. I just kind of laughed. I said, well, it does, And he said, well, I know one thing. He said, I got to contact Marvel. He said, I got some work in here. He said, they might need to pay me some royalties on. But anyway, I don't know if he was joking or not, but Giffin's kind of a jokester. But he's a great guy. Like I told you, J.M. DeMatteis was there. He signed that one for me. This was the interesting one. This story, I found this, I really can't remember where I found it, but it was, the story it's about this hero who, anyway, like it says, for more than 60 years, Savior 28 has been America's greatest hero, but how can a man go on living when everything he's ever believed is revealed as a lie? Reading this thing, I said, you know what? This sounds exactly like Captain America. And I mentioned that to him when anyway, got him to sign it for me. And he looked at me, he said it was supposed to be Captain America. He said he wrote this script in the mid-'80s, and what he was going to do is this was going to end up being the death of Captain America about 10, 15 years. I can't remember exactly when they did that death storyline. But this was going to be the death of Captain America in the mid-'80s, but Marvel would not let him do it. So he stuck this story back and took it to IDW and came up with this character here, Savior 28, and basically did the death of Captain America, his version, in this book. And it is a great story, really good story. Let's just say he took it a little bit farther than what Marvel did when they did the death of Captain America storyline. It's really cool. If you can find this, by all means pick it up. And last, a fellow named Mike Peterson does a comic called Mouse Guard. I couldn't find any of his comics that I've got right off, so I bought this print from him, really cheap. I mean, it was matted and everything. I need to get a frame to put it in. But I don't know if you could see it. He signed it for me in pencil down here on the bottom, and he signed it again in pen on the right hand side. He had already signed it. I think it was pre-signed here, and he went ahead and signed it again here. Anyway, I was really happy to get that. Really cool print. Again, had a great time at Heroes Con. Can't wait for Heroes Con 2020. Counting down the days. There is one thing I just wanted to kind of comment on before I turn this thing loose. I understand in today's marketplace and the way things are with signed books, that it used to be that if a book had a signature on it, it didn't matter if it was Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, it would decrease the value of the book, even though it was an autograph. Well, any of you guys know that is not the case now. And it's gotten to the point to where these guys are charging to sign, which, $5, for somebody to sign, or $10. I don't mind that so much. But there was one particular creator, whom I won't name, that was charging $50 per signature. Now, don't get me wrong. This guy is a legend in the industry. He really is. He's a legend in the industry. And, I guess he can get away with it. But I'm one of those guys that remembers when this same fella, not even 2 years ago, was signing for free. Didn't charge nothing. I mean, unless you went up there with, a armload of books or something. But, anybody would go up there with 2 or 3 books, he would sign them, and he didn't charge anything. But $50, it's a darn shame that the hobby has turned into what it's turned into. And I'm going to make a prediction. All of these high prices that people are charging for these signatures, and all this speculation that some of these guys are doing, they're going to getting these books signed and immediately getting them graded and, put on eBay before they even, or, put on auction websites even before they've left the con. This market, the signature market, is just like everything else. It's going to crash. And when it does, there are going to be people who are going to have all these signed books that are going to be worth about the cost of the paper they're printed on, regardless of who signed it. I get my stuff signed for my own, for my own collection. I just enjoy having autographed stuff. I did as a kid. I collected autographs as a kid. And I just enjoy. I've never sold one. Never have sold one. I've got every autograph I've ever, if I've ever gotten an autograph from somebody, I've still got it, unless I lost it. But I've never sold one. But it's just a shame that it has gotten to the point to where people who only worked on 1 or 2 things are getting 10, 15 bucks for their signature on material that really wasn't all that great to start with, and people are paying it. But that's my little diatribe. Thanks for sticking with me if you have this long. If you do, you get 3 cool kid points. But anyway, I appreciate you listening, appreciate you watching. Have a great day, and hopefully I'll be posting another one of these pretty soon. See you later.